You know what? If I was somebody who worked for the Sci-Fi Channel, or specifically somebody who used to work for the Sci-Fi Channel about 20 years ago, I would be really pissed off this week because all the conversation in science fiction circles for the last few days has been, the curse of Dune is finally lifted! At last, a Dune movie gets a sequel! I'd be like, yeah, we did that. Back in 2003, we did Dune in 2000, and then we did the sequel. James McAvoy was in it. Does anybody remember? No? Okay, fine, whatever. Yep, first time a Dune movie's ever got a sequel. So I have now seen Denis Villeneuve's Dune, or indeed Dune Part 1, as it's captioned on screen, and I was lucky enough to see it the day after it was confirmed that there would in fact be a Dune Part 2, so I could watch it safe in the knowledge that this was a story I was eventually going to get to see the end of. Because I thought that was a bit of a gamble by Warner Brothers. I kind of understand what with Dune's spotted history, where adaptations are concerned, not greenlighting the second movie until you see how the first movie does. I thought that might be a self-fulfilling prophecy, ironically enough. I thought that might put a real damper on its box office. If you tell the audience, here's a 2.5-hour movie which tells half of a story that you might never get to see the rest of. Knock yourself out. But evidently that didn't put enough people off, and we are now going to get a Dune Part 2, so hooray. This is not a review, but yeah, it's great. It's as good as everybody says it is. I am, as you probably know, a staunch defender of David Lynch's 1984 movie of Dune. When we saw the first images from this movie about 18 months ago now, because this movie's been delayed by at least a year because of the pandemic, I launched into a spirited defense on YouTube of David Lynch's 1984 film, which I think is unfairly maligned. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but it's weirdly magnificent and magnificently weird. And of course, the thing which really screwed up David Lynch's Dune is the very thing that this version of Dune sidesteps by splitting itself up into 2 movies. Let's face it, Dune is a fucking doorstop, and you can't do it in a 2-hour film. You couldn't do it in a 3-hour film. You need the minimum of 5 or 6 hours. Hence, I guess, the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, and now this split into 2 parts adaptation. Because I actually checked, I went back and checked, and the point in the story that this movie gets you to is about where the David Lynch movie had got to at the 90-minute mark. But of course, this movie's 2.5 hours long, so it's had an hour more to tell that much story. But the point is that David Lynch's movie is only 2 hours 15 minutes long, including end credits. So presumably, for Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve will now get another 2.5 hours to tell as much story as poor old David Lynch had to cram into 40 minutes. Because if you compare the 2 adaptations, it's basically the bit at which Denis Villeneuve's Part 1 ends that David Lynch's movie just stops making any sense. But, you know, it looks as good as we thought it would. It sounds phenomenal. Do go and see it in the cinema, if only to get the full benefit of the sound mix. And the cast are perfect, because we knew they were going to be, because when all the names were announced, we instantly knew who was going to be playing who. The only one I had any doubts about, if I'm honest, was Oscar Isaac. Not because he's not a great actor, but because I thought he was a bit young for Duke Leto. I mean, Oscar Isaac is only just into his 40s. I've always thought of Leto as being sort of mid-50s. But, you know, they grey his beard up a bit. And because you get to spend a lot more time with this version of Duke Leto, Isaac gets to do a lot more character beats that everybody else just kind of had to imply. And I know a lot of people have really had a gutful of Timothée Chalamet, but he does hold this damn movie together. He is the point of view character for all of it except a handful of scenes. And he is a lot more convincing as a scrawny, clueless teenager than Kyle MacLachlan was. It's not that he's younger. Interestingly, they were almost exactly the same age when they played Paul Atreides. It's just that Kyle MacLachlan is a big strapping bastard and Timothée Chalamet is a scrawny little nerd. Now, something I did find interesting was not so much what you saw as what you didn't see. And not because the story hasn't got there yet. These are things that you have seen in previous versions that, for whatever reason, have been omitted from this version. Oh, henceforth, minor to medium spoilers for New Dune. And indeed Old Dune. I speak principally of the Emperor and the Spacing Guild. The Emperor does not appear at all in this film. He is mentioned quite a lot. We get to meet his messenger. Oh, and while I'm here, if you've seen it, didn't you think the guy who played the Emperor's messenger looked and sounded a lot like the guy who played the Emperor's messenger in 300? Anybody else for a minute there thought Oscar Isaac was going to boot him down a well? But of the Emperor himself, there is no sign. We merely get to hear about his commandments. And the Spacing Guild themselves will get a couple of mentions, but I don't think we've seen them yet, unless those guys with the goldfish bowls on their heads walking behind the Emperor's messenger were meant to be guild navigators. Because while this movie explains what a big deal the spice is, it then doesn't go on to point out that this makes the Spacing Guild incredibly important. Because that's the thing, in the Duneverse, there's a kind of triumvirate of power. Power is split three ways in the galaxy between the Empire, the Bene Gesserits, and the Spacing Guild. Now, of those three in the new movie, you've only really seen the Bene Gesserits. Now, the 1984 movie and I think the 2000 movie both begin with a scene set on Kitane, the capital planet, where a delegation of navigators barge in on the Emperor and essentially tell him to quit screwing around with Arrakis to settle scores. So instantly you find out that the Emperor is actually not really that powerful. And indeed, the way the Emperor is portrayed in the two previous adaptations by Jose Ferrer in the David Lynch movie and Giancarlo Giannini in the miniseries, he's kind of pompous and ineffectual. He tries to be Machiavellian, but he's not really that smart. Because at the end of the day, he is the least powerful of that triumvirate. The Emperor gets to issue proclamations, but it's the Bene Gesserits who actually get stuck in and manipulate events. And of course, the Spacing Guild have essentially got the entire galaxy over a barrel at all times, because nobody can go anywhere or do anything without them. I'm wondering why the importance of the Spacing Guild has been downplayed in this version. There's not even the scene that you get in both the previous versions when the Atreides set off from Caladan to Arrakis of the Guild Navigator doing spice magic to get the spaceship to go. In fact, this movie doesn't really go into the Dune mechanics of space travel. They have big spaceships, they go from one planet to another. We are given to understand that spice is involved, but that's kind of it. Like I say, I'm kind of intrigued as to why they made this decision. I'm wondering if it's going to be some kind of twist reveal at the end of part 2, because as those of you who know the story at all, the Emperor is going to have to turn up eventually, and maybe that's going to be the punchline to the whole thing. That's when the Emperor, who has been spoken of in hushed tones, finally rocks up. It turns out he's just a pompous old fart in a uniform that nobody pays much attention to. And it's actually the Guild Navigators and the Bene Gesserits who've been running the whole show the whole time. Maybe that's going to be the big reveal at the end of part 2. In which case, that's a bit odd, because it's not going to be a reveal to anybody who's seen either the previous adaptations or indeed read the book. There is, of course, now a fair bit of speculation as to who's going to play the Emperor when he turns up. One might expect him to be this sort of commanding, regal figure, the kind of guy you probably get Anthony Hopkins to play. But then again, like I say, it may just turn out that he's this sort of, ineffectual, doddering old fool, who, you've got to say, Anthony Hopkins could probably play as well. Let's face it, they're probably phoning Hopkins even as we speak. Oh, one more thing. I was very pleased to see that it has now officially been confirmed what I've always suspected, which is that the good guys in Dune are basically Scottish. They come from the planet Scotland. It's called Caladan. It's mountainous, green, and rainy. Now, they filmed the scenes set on Caladan for this version on the coast of Norway, but the coast of Norway looks exactly like the coast of northern Scotland. And the name Caladan is two spits and a wank from the word Caledonia, which was the Roman name for Scotland. But here's the thing. When Paul is moodily gazing out to sea on Caladan, there is a definite hint of bagpipes swelling up on the soundtrack. And then, when the Atreides actually rock up on Arrakis, they are piped down the gangway of their big regal spaceship by the Atreides house piper. Now, I was on the Isle of Skye when the movie came out. The reason I couldn't go and see it on its opening night is I think the nearest cinema to the Isle of Skye is in Inverness, which is like 4 hours away. But I'd love to know how that's going down north of the border. Yes! They may have a Greek-sounding name, but the good guys are from Scotland. It's not the House Atreides, it's the Clan Atreides. So yeah, that made me smile. All right, that's probably about it. I would say go and see it, but knowing you guys, you've seen it already.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please hit like and share. If you'd like to see more, please hit subscribe. And if you'd like to help me make more, please visit patreon.com/MitchBen.